Thank you for joining us, Nika Madison. So let's go back to the origin story for you. What inspired the screenplay at the beginning?
Certainly the initial inspiration for the film idea was Thelma and Louise. I remember watching Thelma and Louise as a kid, and I remember in my little kid brain thinking, I don't understand why they don't go to the cops. They should just go to the cops and tell them what happened, and you guys will be fine. I'm like 8 years old telling this to myself in my head. And then I watched it as an adult, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, there are layers here. There are things going on here that my little kid mind didn't understand. And then I thought to myself, if these two white women, couldn't go to the police, what if they were indigenous and they really couldn't go to the police? And that was the initial, like, okay, yes, I want to tell a story about two indigenous women who get in trouble with the law and they have to go on the run. And that was sort of the initial inspiration. Another film that came out right when I was in the early stages of developing the idea was a film called Queen and Slim, a Lena Waithe film, which was a great film. And I remember watching that film and being like, oh no, too close to my movie. But it took me a handful of years to get here, so I feel like it's fine. But again, two black characters, a black couple who get in trouble with law and go on the run. And so those two movies sort of inspired me, encouraged me to tell a story through an indigenous lens.
Now, obviously, the hard movie is Nika Madison for obvious reasons. What was the process of structuring the relationship? Because it's very complex relationship.
Yeah. I wanted to tell a story about two strong indigenous women that were different. One is sort of like a city girl, and one's a girl from the res, and how different they were, but also how they were similar. And these two characters have a deep history and a deep connection, and in recently have kind of split apart, but in our movie they come back together, and there's been a bit of a rift in their relationship. So through the journey of the movie, we see them come back to each other, and also we get to see how much love and trust they have and how they really take care of each other. And with indigenous women, that's your survival, is the women that you surround yourself with, and I really wanted to show that in the film.
So when you first read the screenplay, what was the initial emotional reaction for you saying, you know what, I had to play this part?
I was lucky to get the full script before I even did my initial self-tape for it. So I sat down and I opened the script up, as I do with any script I get, and just was like, okay, I'm going to go in blind. I don't know what to expect. There's no expectations. There's no anything. There's no prior knowledge. Just going to receive it and see if I can find that thing that I can connect in and I can root in that makes me feel like, oh, this, I need to do this, or I feel I can do this in a way that that serves the vision, the story. So I read the script, and throughout Act 1 and Act 2, I didn't realize it, but I got so invested in the two women. I got so invested in their relationship together and separately. I just was very invested in these two women and in their well-beings, and I got invested in their hopes. I got invested in their dreams. I got invested in their fears, their unspoken fears. I got really invested. And so by the third act, I was up here energetically. I was feeling afraid for them and where the script could go, where this story could end that we've seen before and is a reality, but my whole system was expecting these two women to finish their story disempowered. And I wasn't conscious of it, but it was there, and I was really bracing for that while I was reading this for the first time. And then I got to the third act, and it was just a relief, and it's not at all what happened. And there were these beautiful montage sequences of these two women in the city together, and then ultimately the way the film ends really impacted me. And I was like, this I haven't seen, this I haven't been a part of, this I would love to be a part of. And so that was the thing that was the magical kind of thing that I connected with, on top of just innately connecting with Madison and who I knew her to be, how I understood her way of being in the world. It was that third act, that end, where I was like, yes, that, please, yes. So yes, that's what that was for me.
And to me, the movie, they're not technically sisters per se, they're sisters to me. How was it creating the Bounty co-star to create that relationship? Because as a sister or any sibling relationship, it's complicated. But there is love, and there's certain thing that never is gone. So what was the process of working on set with your co-star to kind of build their relationship?
My co-star, Ellen Jade, I've had the great fortune of being really, really good friends with for about 7 years now. And we've also had the privilege of working together a couple other times. So this was our third time coming together on screen in the container of film. And so we've already had that unspoken language and relationship on screen. And outside of that, we were also just friends, and we deeply cared about one another. And we've had the privilege of time together. 7 years of all kinds of life events and all kinds of evolutions and just kind of everything. Just we've had the luxury of time of knowing one another, even if we haven't always been, super close in the same city. We live in very different cities. We've run parallel for a very long time and just been there to support each other through all of these things. And I love Ellen, and I think she's an incredible creative, and I think she's an incredible human being. So once we got to be Nika and Madison together, it was really quite easy because we're friends and we just have that relationship. So it was quite spoiled, actually, I would say, to be honest with you. Yeah, so not actually a whole lot of work required on that end. So.
The screenplay, I love the screenplay, and especially when you speak of the endings, what I was expecting, the traditional Hollywood ending where they wouldn't be empowered, actually the Thelma and Louise ending, and I would love the trick. But there is a lot going on. We have racism with the indigenous people. We have sexual assault and the sexual dynamic. What was the process for you kind of weeding that in, but always keeping the relationship of Nika Madison at the forefront? Not letting it overshadow it, but also it's an integral part that can't be ignored.
Yeah, the investigation piece of it, or the police the chase of them, runs sort of parallel to the women's journey as they're out on the res trying to evade capture as they go deeper into the bush, or as they find their way to the city. They are being chased by the police, and it's sort of a parallel storyline. My hope certainly was that tension, that hunt, if you will, helps to create tension in the story. And so we do go back a bit and forth between being with the cops as they do their investigation, and we get to tease out some of those systemic issues that happen in the police law enforcement when they meet Indigenous people. So some of that's teased out. I was also able to tease out some of the concepts around Indigenous sovereignty, around land, and how police can or cannot come onto reserve with or without permission. So we were able to tease out some of that. And also, what I was trying to also do with Sean Doyle's character is that he's not a bad person, that he's conflicted, and how to work in an institution like the police, law enforcement, there is a certain amount of expectation that you cover for each other. And sometimes even against what you yourself maybe would do. And I wanted his character to be conflicted. And what's really interesting about Sean Doyle's performances as Detective Warhorse is that he really changes so much. And I think his arc is equally as interesting as the girls. So all of that's going on while we're spending time with Nika and Madison as we see their dynamic, we see their history, we see them begin to repair their relationship. And then once that relationship is repaired, we get to see them really be totally 100% and real with each other and share things that they hadn't shared previously. So while they're being chased, while the detectives are on their trail, they are also bonding and restoring their friendship.
Your character at the beginning of the film is, carefree, going off to college, then has the trauma of the assault. What was your process trying to develop the character, taking her from really two different places, at the Act One break especially, evolving the character, having to deal with trauma, actually trauma we get to see as the audience?
I think the process was very much, there's a pre and a post Madison. So I think, however, it was important to me in creating Madison, or bringing her to life rather, that yes, there's a pre and there's a post Madison relative to that attempted assault sequence. And also, that's not the only pre and post Madison. That's not the necessarily the core of her transformation. The core, I think, of her transformation, the heart of it for her, the real transformation, is in the alchemy that happens when she reconnects with Nika, and they finally, by the end, get on the same channel. They're in the same chat, so to speak, and that powerful healing transformation that happens throughout the whole movie, this kind of dance that they're both doing, trying to, this dance I feel of like avoidance and chasing and just hiding, but also vulnerability, and this beautiful thing that they're doing in this process of reconnecting, and as Eva said, repairing their relationship. The through line is that unconditional love. No matter what's going on, that unconditional love is always there, and that's the foundation of everything. So yes, there's the assault, which is definitely a transformative experience for Madison, but the deeper thing that's happening is these two girls having each other's backs through it all, and the power that has for Madison coming back, not knowing how she's going to be received, and then ultimately going on this journey with Nika, and then ultimately being received and being able to offer love in return, and openness and vulnerability and true connection by that end. So that was just as important to me as mapping out that arc with the assault. Yeah.
I was moved by the end scene when Nika finally reveals her trauma, which you helped bring, your character helped bring, to light. What was the process of directing that scene? Because to me, it was such an emotionally powerful scene.
Yeah, the film, because it deals with sexual assaults, and these are like hard topics, and asking human beings to create this scenario or situation where we're playing this out on screen for the audience to go along on the journey. I think as a director, I was fully aware of what I was asking my actors to do. Like, I was fully aware that I was asking Star to go there with the assault. I was fully aware of what I was asking David Rell, our police officer, PC Boyd, and I was aware that I was asking a lot. And that's that scene when Nika reveals to Madison what happened to her and her trauma, that I just knew that it was emotional, and so I think that I also think that the crew understood that too, and that they just made space for the actors to do their work. And I just remember when we were filming it that I felt really touched by the scene. I think I even came up, I had tears in my eyes. Like, I felt really, really impacted by it. And so I knew that if I was feeling impacted, that other people could feel impacted too. So a lot of it's casting the right people. And that's half the job. So check there. But then also just, we spoke at length about these scenes. We spent a lot of time in prep together talking about these scenes, so that when we came down to each scene, we had discussed it at length, all three of us. And so there was just really this like beautiful, I trust you, go forth. Okay, let's make a small adjustment. And yeah, I think that is a really powerful scene. And Nika's story is not my story. I have myself not been sexually assaulted, but I've held that space for many women to tell me that story. And what's really beautiful about Star's performance in that moment is do you remember you saying to me, like, I don't feel like I should say things to her. I just want to hold space. And so I was like, then let's do that. And so again, that collaboration and that trust in the actor, and that the actor has instincts that are important, and, oh yeah, I like that idea, let's try it. So creating an environment that's safe, where we trusted each other, that we all understood what was going to happen. And then I also think that there was an element of, are you okay? Can you go again? And if either of them would have said no, then I would have said, then we got it. So I think it's about taking care of each other too.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you and we look forward to the premiere in Toronto.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.